Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I really appreciate this episode kind of giving us just another perspective on that night that Elizabeth died. Like, obviously, we got Ressler's side of things and kind of the aftermath of what that led him down, the path that led him down. And now we kind of get a little insight into both Reddington, but mainly Denbei, of how the aftermath of that, what kind of effect it had on them. Like, Denbei just happened to wake up, like, after they stopped and rested, and then, like, when he opened his eyes next, Reddington had already gone. He tried to track him down, but to no avail. And obviously that flows into present day because Reddington's operations are getting hit. Like, top tier people in his organization get hit to the point Marvin's like, the fact is, how is it your first person got hit, someone got hit Tuesday, someone got hit Wednesday, and someone got hit Thursday. How is it that I'm hearing about a hit that happened Tuesday when you should have been the first one to know? He's like, the fact is your attention isn't there. His mind is so divided amongst other things. He's not leading the organization the way he was because, truth be told is, Reddington had put all his eggs in one basket. That one basket was Liz. He was leaving everything to her and had no intention. So, like, after she died, Reddington fell apart. And it's like, he left all of this behind. He's only back now because of he was drawn back in by Cooper / Denbei at the very beginning. But the fact is that his mind isn't there, especially now with the divide between him and Denbei and this whole thing, finding out there's even more to Liz's death, that Denbei might be responsible. The person that you care about most, one of the people you care about most in this world, might be responsible for getting your daughter killed. Like, of course that's going to, like, hit you a certain way that you're just not in a position to forgive right now, essentially. So it's just hard to focus on, like, the criminal enterprise side of things. That's why he's kind of getting blindsided. So he brings this to Harold, and obviously says, like, right, he wants Denbei nowhere near this case. But even later on, he's like, no, Harold, I presented it, but I know Harold's not going to listen to me. So the truth comes out, and Denbei tells everyone, and even to the point Ressler's like, I don't blame you for what happened to Liz. Yeah, because truth be told, it's like, regardless of anything, you're not the reason why that trigger was pulled. Because if anything, it's like the only reason why Liz was there in the first place is because of Reddington. So obviously Ressler's coming to terms with a lot of that, but if anything, most of his blame is towards Reddington. But he still said, like, right, despite how much he would want to blame Denbei, he doesn't blame Denbei for what happened to Liz. And so obviously Denbei reveals, like, he knows the inner workings of Reddington's operation, and it makes sense that he talks about, like, no one knows the entire structure, which makes a lot of sense. Red wants to make it so that he's the only one who knows who's the only one that sees the bigger picture, because you want to compartmentalize such a large-scale organization, because that way not one person has all the info. He's the only one, because that way, if something happens in this operation, that person captured can't completely blow up your entire operation in itself. Like, you kind of segment it like that. But it turns out Denbei only recently learned the ins and outs of the operation. He held a lot of Reddington's secrets, but didn't know the entire business. The only reason why he knows it now, how it all works, is because he took over the operation, which even Aram was like, whoa. So, like, you were the man behind the man, but, like, now it's like, how does it feel like to be the one in, like, front and center running things? And honestly, it was like a hell for him, because he didn't want to do this, but at the end of the day, Marvin's the one that convinced him he needs to do this, because, right, he's saying, like, Liz should have never been a successor because she was never built for this. You, on the other hand, you are always the legitimate successor, and now that Liz is gone, now that Reddington's gone, there's no one to run this organization. If anything, like, it was always should have gone to Denbei, at least in Marvin's eyes, because Denbei's been by Reddington's side throughout it all. So it's like, right, it seems like it was kind of rightfully yours to some extent, especially with things as they are now. No other time than now to do this. Denbei had his reservations, but it's like, right, you need to do this because the wolves are coming. Like, everyone's going to be coming for a slice of this organization. Like, no one's going to sit idly by, especially with the throne empty now. It's like, no way. So Denbei stayed, and that's what actually led to this episode turning out the way it did. Baptiste is a guy that's coming after Dembe. It's not about Reddington. It's specifically about Dembe because 2 years ago, Dembe killed his son. It was aiming for him, but because he had gotten intelligence that his son wasn't going to be in the car with him, but Baptiste had his son with him. I guess he got nervous and probably learned that there was going to be a hit coming after him, so he tried to probably get out of town and disappear, so he probably brought his son with him, and his son died in the process. Dembe thought he died all those 2 years ago, but nope, he's still alive and well, and that's what this has all been about. It isn't necessarily about bringing down Reddington's operation. It was mainly about trying to find Dembe. Granted, he didn't know Dembe was no longer working with Reddington, because the only people who know that really are the people within his own organization. Some people have heard outside of those who work with Reddington have heard about Dembe being an FBI agent, but it's mainly those in the inner circle of Reddington's organization that know the truth about Dembe. So he didn't know about this, so he figured this is the best way to get to Dembe, going after the fourth person who's basically like the cornerstone of Reddington's operation, because this guy, like in Baltimore, he's the one that kind of lets a lot of the shipping goods like come through and stuff like that. So Baptiste tried to use him to get to Dembe, and obviously it's about an eye for an eye in his situation. He's going after Isabella, Dembe's daughter, in response is like, right, I lost a child, you're going to feel that pain too. So, and Dembe blames himself because he's like, right, none of this would have happened if I hadn't, like, this is my fault, I killed his child, and he's pissed about it. And obviously Cooper and the others had no idea what he did, and it's just like, right, they know like the bad side of just like, right, they've coincided. They don't always agree, but they've coincided with some of the terrible things Reddington has done. And the fact is, Dembe did what he did, because if he didn't, it would have been a lot worse, essentially, because people coming after Reddington's organization, things would have gotten extra bloody. Him trying to cut off the serpent's heads that were coming, like the wolves that were coming out of the woodwork to like come and get their piece. If he hadn't done it, probably would have been a big international criminal war for like everything that Reddington had, because he left it up in the air like that, you know, understandably so, but it left Dembe in quite the compromised position. So Dembe is willing to do whatever it takes to get his daughter back, even selling out Reddington's organizations. Like, you want top tier people? I will get you top tier people. Information that will basically allow you to take down Reddington's organization. That's what you wanted from the beginning, even before I killed your son. That's what you were planning, was getting a piece of that operation. I'm going to basically help you get the whole kit and caboodle, like, if you, like, don't kill my daughter. So obviously Reddington's still pissed about the whole situation with Liz, and even Marvin's just like, right, you're not focused on anything, because it's like, right, he's listening, like Mirsay, like, Weecha took pictures of the flowers and sent them to Mirsay to like examine them. It's like, oh, they look fine, but almost kind of like things seem like they're going to turn out okay, like despite the flowers looking a little rough right now. A little representative, I guess, of Reddington's state of mind, plus a little representative of his relationship with Dembe. And but it's like, yeah, like he's accounted for everything. Like he knew Dembe would, like he didn't know like Baptiste would be the one behind all this. Nor did he know that Isabella was going to get kidnapped in the process. But at the end of the day, Dembe's like, right, I might be responsible for what happened to Liz. I'm going to have to live with that and deal with that. But the fact of the matter is, like, this is your fault. You're the one that disappeared, and I had to do that to Baptiste's son, which even Reddington's like, okay, you're responsible for Liz dying. I disappeared because of that, and you killed someone's kid. Like, do you not see how those dots aren't connecting? And even in that moment, like, Dembe's kind of like, right, like, yes, you left me to do this, but you never told me to take control over everything. But for Dembe, it was like, I've been by your side. Of course I was going to do that for you. You might not have asked me to do it, but I've been by your side all of the way through it all. So of course I was going to do this. Of course I was going to take over things for the purposes of keeping your organization alive, because I am that indebted to you. So of course I would do that. So he ended up leaving before Aram and Wrestler could give him the information about what they found out, because Dembe was trying to figure out how is it that Van Dyke found him. It's like, right, like, that's the thing, like, how did he even know to come to the coffee shop to find me and Liz? And so he's been triangulating his phone, trying to find out wherever all the different places he was going, and they showed it to Reddington, and it's like, oh, like, so Dembe's not responsible. It's like, not fully. So he still plays some role in it, but not to the full extent that Reddington had kind of been placing on his shoulders. So he basically, and Dembe rolled up on Marvin and was like, yo, give me this information. But it's like, no. He's like, the only way I know for sure I'm going to stay alive is by not telling you anything, because we both know how Red rolls. The fact is that if I tell you, he's not going to be the forgiving type. So, but Reddington calls up and he's like, right, Marvin, give him everything he needs. So, I wasn't quite sure about what Reddington was doing, because he gave him 3 names, and apparently those names get run, and because apparently Baptiste was able to verify them. So I guess it's like, what he was checking on is, right, who did Baptiste go to verify those names? Let's backtrack and find that person. I don't know if that's what that was in reference to. Like, because that way, whoever it was is aware of those people, so we need to take them off the board, or is like, that person could be useful to us. Or were those 3 names for something else? It's like, oh, you're going to verify these people? These people don't actually, well, I don't know. I don't know what that was 100% about. Maybe it was there in the episode and I just didn't quite get it. Because Weecha got the information and it's like, right, backtrace that call and find out who it was he talked to verify everything. So I think it was probably like the form of what I was mentioning, that find the person who was able to confirm it, whoever it was, we need to kill them and find out who they are, because for them to be able to confirm these are people within our organization and working with us, that these people are who they claim to be. Once again, just Weecha, lady a few words, so damn deadly. That poor guy, just like, she walked up behind him, slit his throat, it's just like, kept it moving. I'm like, Dembe was deadly, but I think Weecha's on a whole other level, bro. Just like, every time we see her, she's just having these badass moments. Like, Dembe's had his moments, but it just seems like they're like, oh, like, Weecha's on some other level. Like, she's on some next level stuff, dude. I love it. Obviously, his daughter finding out the truth about what he did, which this episode gave us a lot of insight, like I said, about Dembe, about not only, I think after crossing that line with Baptiste, that's what made him go like, I'm done with this, I'm leaving it all behind. And so he decided to become a cop. And he had actually talked to Isabella about it, which she wasn't too keen on the idea. She's like, I never liked the fact is that you did what you did with Reddington. Because it's like, fine, that's you working with one white guy, okay. But the fact is, you working with the FBI, you wanting to become a cop, is you joining an institution. Which, once again, I've talked about this during Mayor of Kingstown. People view cops as a gang of their own. It's just, it's a government-funded gang, is how some people will view police and law enforcement, and especially because it's an institution of racism for a lot of people, because it's like, right, you're joining a system that is built to keep people like us down, that is like, people are going to look at you as a traitor, and she's like, I don't care what people think, the only person I care about is your opinion, because for her, it's like, it's the complicated thing of being black and being a cop. Being a cop is bad enough because it's like, right, that lens from the black community, but also, well, I think that applies to all minorities, not just the black community, but the black community in particular. But then on top of that, you add in, like, you being a black cop is kind of a double strike, because it's like, right, you're choosing blue over black. It's what that can be seen. And Isabella was trying to stress that to her dad, because she's like, all these different people, George Floyd, like, all these travesties and terrible things that have happened, and, you know, this system has been a part of it, and you want to go and join that system. Even talking to Cooper, like, even Cooper's like, yeah, I remember when there was a time when people who had a badge, like, people who are black couldn't even dream of having a badge, and now we're in this opportunity because of the people before us that paved the way so that we could. It's like, yes, there is give and take with it. There is the whole situation of, you will be viewed through a certain lens that you are joining this institution, but it is about having the opportunity to be black, to basically step in when you have the opportunity to. It's like fighting and changing the system from the inside, and it's better to have people on the inside who can fight and call out everything wrong before it escalates and turns into something bad. It's kind of like Harold's point of view and the whole situation. So he's actually the one that obviously pulled the strings to get Dembe into the FBI, and sadly, like, during his ceremony, like, Isabella wasn't there, but still. he just wanted to do some good is kind of what his point was. Like, after everything he's ever done, I think especially after the Baptiste situation, it was like, after that, like, he wanted to do some good in the world. Because he knows not every cop is bad. Like, he's worked with that, you know, worked alongside the task force, and he knows what good people they are. Harold, Park, Aram, Wrestler, they are good people. So he knows that there are good cops amongst the bad, you know? So he wants to, you know, do work like them. They do good every day, and he wants to be able to save lives and help people rather than just kind of be part of the criminal organization he was. I mean, because I think that speaks volumes for Isabella's perspective, that it's like, right, I don't like that you work with Red, but I would rather you continue working with Red rather than join, you know, it's like, that shows you, because it's like, despite him being the criminal that he is, at least Reddington is someone fair across the board, that it isn't going to be a thing of because of your skin color. Like, there's not the negative connotation. Yes, it has its issues. Once again, he's a criminal, a very well-known international criminal, but like that, I think that just speaks volumes that she's more okay with that than him being a cop. You know, once again, it's just like what that means for him as a black man being a cop, because she feels like you're kind of burying the side of you just being a black man. But for Dembe, he was like, no, I can be a cop and a black man. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. I can be both without sacrificing one for the other, essentially. But at the end of it all, when he does end up confronting Baptiste does talk about, like, right, like, you feel that pain, right? He's like, where do you feel it? And he was like, in my back. And he's like, yeah, that it's a weight that's too heavy for you to carry. He's like, you know, eventually you'll know what I feel. And he talks about, you know, there are two different type of people. There are the wolves and there are sheep. And he calls himself a wolf because he's going to kill Isabella to, you know, because he's even saying, like, this isn't about even revenge anymore. He talks about from his country, people coming in, taking what they want, corrupt cops allowing the ports to be open, allowing people like Reddington to come in. So it's not even just about revenge. It's about me taking back what is owed to me, you know, what was kind of taken from my country and kind of taken elsewhere. It's like, you know, this is what it's about, but it also is about revenge. But it's like the larger scale is about taking back what I'm owed. Granted, he gets taken down in the end, so... At the end of it all, though, Isabella is going to be leaving. And she's like, this isn't against you, because she's like, right, will we actually be safe? And he's like, this whole Reddington thing, like my connection to him, it could draw back to you again, like it has time and time again. So she's like, it's not going to be forever, but I'm going to leave with my child just to make sure everything's okay. And it's like, can I read her story before leaving? It's like, of course, you know? Because at the end of the day, she's like, right, I still have my reservations, but I know you can be a good man, that you can be black and a police officer, because the fact is, I know who you are. At the end of the day, I had my reservations at the beginning, and I still do, but I know the good that you can do, because I know who you are at your heart, that you are a good person. So Reddington did have a sit down with Dembe, Marvin, and Wicha being there about, right, so connecting the dots. It turns out Van Dyke went to other places before he went to, because it's like looking at where Dembe was, he wasn't following Dembe and he didn't follow Liz. He went immediately, like upon like going to all these different places, he immediately went to the coffee shop that Liz and Dembe met at. So it's like he didn't follow them there. He got told by someone, but it's like, who would have known? The only people who were supposed to know, well, for one, who would have known where they would have been was in, like, they're very careful, because Dembe blamed himself of like, right, I wasn't as focused as I should have been, but it's like, no, there were contributing factors to this. So someone helped point him in the right direction. So Van Dyke killed Liz because someone pointed him there, and it's like, the question is, who? Which you immediately go like, I'll admit to you, the entire episode, I'm like, you don't think it's Marvin, do you? Because I was kind of like nervous the entire episode. I was like, is Marvin behind this? Is he be? I mean, he wouldn't be the first person in Reddington's organization to be a traitor, so. I even love, like, one of, I think it was Clark that was like, it's nice seeing you, Dembe. He was like, nice seeing you too. It's like, yeah, haven't seen each other much in the past 2 years because of everything, but still, I thought that was kind of a nice, like, hey, it's good seeing you, Dembe. I'm like, yeah, it's like, yeah, because a lot of these people know Dembe. They've been working with Reddington a long time, and it's like, working with Reddington means you worked alongside Dembe a lot too, so. Regardless, I just thought that was an interesting little thing, but despite everything, Reddington's like, right, we've got to focus on finding the person actually responsible for killing Liz, like who's behind all. And it's like, right, like maybe things wouldn't have played out that way if I hadn't given Liz the letter. But at the end of the day, he's like, right, maybe you're right. He's telling Dembe, like, maybe it did bring Liz some comfort. But this isn't over until we fully... Because even Marvin's like, I'm one for conspiracies and stuff like this, but come on, like... But it's like, yeah, like, how did, like, Van Dyke know? Like, someone had to tell him who was it and for what purpose. Was it for the purpose of killing Liz? Was it someone that didn't want Liz to take control of the organization because if she did, things would have changed? Like, is it someone that... Was the purpose trying to kill both her and Reddington? Or was it about killing... Well, if they wanted to, they could have gotten to Reddington, but they wanted to kill Liz. That was on purpose. So, it's just... Van Dyke wanted her dead anyway, just to make Reddington suffer. That was the whole point anyway. At later points, Townsend... That's what Townsend wanted, so that was him fulfilling that wish. But I'm also curious... Was it just someone else that wanted Liz dead too? Or are they hoping that Liz would die and Reddington too? Who knows? But I did like the ending being cute, where it's like both of them, Dembe and Reddington, playing a role of grandparents reading to their respective grandchildren books. I thought that was really cute. They're like cutting back and forth because despite the bad blood that's been there between them, it's like, right, let's come together. We'll figure and find our way forward past all of this. It's going to be a bumpy road, because he even apologizes. I should have never left you in that position. But he's like, after Liz died, I was just basically going to implode in myself. Look, so I left. I met Weecha and I found Mirsay as well. And they basically helped me essentially piece himself back together after everything. But he still admits, me putting you in that position, you shouldn't have never been put in that position. So he does admit his fault. And like, right, just like I want to blame you for Liz, which isn't entirely on you, I can't, like, just say, like, no, what you did wasn't because of me. Like, I put you in a position where you felt like you had to do it because I abandoned everything, left things in the air. Yes, despite what I was going through, I shouldn't have put you in that position. So, thought that was kind of a neat development for all of this. So, I am curious to figure out where everything takes us going forward from here, finding out who is the person responsible for leaking where Dembe and Elizabeth were meeting. So, we'll have to wait and see and find out. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.